Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the SPL pregame show. As every Thursday, my name is F. Joined here by...
What are we going with this week?
I forget your name. The forgettable Kevin Adonis Meyer. How you doing today?
I'm actually doing pretty good. How about you? I think we have some pretty exciting matches this week.
Yeah, I'm still reeling off of the incredibleness that was week 2. We're going into the third week of competition, though, so a lot of exciting stuff. As I mentioned, it was a crazy barn burner, and here is the schedule for this upcoming week, May 28th, 30th, and 31st. That's going to be today, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yep. First up, we're going to be seeing upcoming stars take on Fnatic. Afterwards, it'll be Enemy taking on AFK to round out Thursday.
Yeah, so that should be a lot of fun stuff just for you today. Fnatic and Upcoming Stars is how we're going to start things off, and then we'll end things off with Enemy and AFK, as we said. And Saturday and Sunday, we'll get into it in a little bit. But, as I mentioned, week 2 was crazy. So let's just bring up the standings and take a snapshot of what EU looks like right now.
At the top, we have Titan and Fnatic, both tied at 4-0. Fnatic's going to have their chance today to take that top spot. Afterwards, Epsilon comes in. And then we have Team Dignitas, and then we have a 3-way tie, all at 1-3.
And the only team that has not won a game yet is going to be the Night's Watch on the bottom. So, as we said, Fnatic faces off against Upcoming Stars this week. It's up to Fnatic to defend their undefeated record. That said, it's very interesting. Upcoming Stars has won their first SPL match of their history, actually.
Yeah, they played amazing. They're going to be facing Fnatic today, arguably the best team in Europe next to Titan. Fnatic just looks fantastic this split, right? And it's really been this growth. Before they were the LAN-dominant team, now they're the LAN and online dominant team in Europe.
Exactly. After the Smite World Championship, we saw a little bit of not even a roster swap, but a role swap. Captain Twig, formerly in the middle lane, found himself in the jungle, and that's just been everything successful for the Orange and Black. They've come out in, well, all 4 of their games, and they've won it. And it's interesting because Zeros in the mid lane looks amazing.
He looks fantastic, and he's also playing gods that he played in the jungle before. He was playing these Giannis and Vulcans, and those seem to be his 2 core pickups. Additionally, Captain Twig, we've seen him actually be target banned out a little bit. We see teams taking away his Arachne, which he was so good with at the start of the split and the start of the spring split, and now he's just transitioning to this fantastic Thor player. We actually saw it last week where he earned MVP.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Captain Twig in the spring split played Thor and Arachne almost exclusively. And as you said, people have sort of sniffed out that Arachne. Thor is traditionally banned, so we've seen some Circuit come out from Captain Twig as well. So a lot of top-tier picks coming out from the jungler, but he's doing it well. And the opponents that he's going to have to take on will be Upcoming Stars. So they've got a good lineup as well and done a similar thing, role swaps and roster swaps for Upcoming Stars as well. Yeah,
Cheerio has since moved into the jungle after the end of the spring split. And then Qin, who was previously their sub, has now come in as their support player. And Qin, I think, looks fantastic. But I want to highlight, I think, Renz really on this team. Their win against Trig this past week, I wouldn't say came off the back of Renz. It was a team effort. Everyone played fantastically. But Renz won, I think, 12-4 and some number
12-4 and 12.
And 12. Yeah. And Renz played fantastically. And I think this is the skill level that we can expect to see from him moving forward. But he's going to be facing up against Reals. Probably the best hunter in Europe, arguably the best in the world.
Yeah, I mean, this is the SAT for hi-rez. I know he's a European player, so they don't have those, but this is a huge, huge test for Renz. When you talk about Upcoming Stars, a lot of conversation revolves around the Soul Lane sausage. We talk a lot about the players that have moved around Cheerio and Qin. Renz and Frosty are the 2 quiet people that we don't really mention, and now it's finally time for us to mention the hunter. So he performed last week against Funball, who is one of the better hunters in the SPL, or in the European SPL at the very least. So going up against Reals is going to be one of the largest hurdles for him to jump.
Yep, but guys, we have a couple more minutes to get in your picks for this year's season ticket, 300 gems in game, and you're going to be able to get a cool loadings frame that's going to showcase the next SPL matches coming up. Additionally, you're going to be earning points throughout the year to earn cool skins.
Yeah, so not only do you get that stuff, but you also get the opportunity, as you win, you earn those points that Kevin just mentioned, but you also get the opportunity to put in your picks. You get to say who you think is going to win the next matchup as well as we do. So talking about how we looked this week, let's bring up the percentages of how everybody
we don't have to
did,
look at this.
And just this is the totals, and just taking a look. I like to look at the top and the bottom. Starting off from the bottom, Kevin, who's there?
Why do we have to start at the bottom? Is that Adonis, it looks like, at the bottom?
Yes, it is
I've closed the gap, though. I was like
You have.
20% below everyone. And then last week, I think everyone picked the same thing. So based on math, I've closed the gap. All right, I'm better off than last week.
Definitely closed the gap a little bit. I should be a little bit higher, but I did mix up the AFK split, AFK and Legion. I mixed up the 2 games. I had chosen correctly, but I actually inputted incorrectly. So much like the regular game, I just can't hit the buttons, but I do know the facts.
Oh my God. Next up, we do have a North American matchup, and it's going to be Enemy taking on AFK.
So the enemy matchup will be interesting, but I think you're getting ahead of yourself because you're afraid of getting this pick
Can we just go
wrong
on?
Again. The matchup is going to be Upcoming Stars versus Fnatic, and I myself have Fnatic. Let's see how everybody else has picked, including the community, and we'll take a look at the picks in just right there. There we are. The community goes ahead and picks Fnatic as well. So what do you did you pick Upcoming Stars for this one?
No, I picked Fnatic. Fnatic looks too strong. Upcoming Stars, while they did find their win, and they do play up to their competition, I think if they're going to win another game, it's realistically against a Fnatic or Titan. They're just not there. Fnatic's the best in Europe right now. I think it's going to be a 2-0. Yeah,
I agree. I think this is a schedule. This is a little bit of a scheduling bump for Upcoming Stars. They did very well against Trig, and their next matchup will be against Team Dignitas, who I think is actually winnable for them. So Fnatic is more about just mitigating the wounds, #Herc, and just trying to figure out how well they can do to sort of stay afloat.
Hey, everyone picked the same thing, so I can't get worse.
Very true. That's going to be it for the European side of things. Let's take a look on North America and how the standings are stacked up in the big continent.
At the top, we have Cloud9, the only undefeated team remaining in North America. TSM, Team Eager, and Legion of Carrots all tied at 3-1, and then AFK sitting in the middle.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of teams right there in the middle. AFK, the winners of the Spring Final LAN, sitting there in the middle. They've lost 2 of their games. And on the bottom, Cognitive and Enemy Esports. Roster problems abound, and they have not won a single match. Focusing more on Enemy, since we're going to be seeing them today, Kevin, what do you think really keeps this team down and not able to win a game so far?
I think it's really their constant changes. For those who don't know, today, actually, Soulshiner has, I don't know if he was kicked or left the team,
right?
But Soulshiner is no longer with them. They're going to be playing with Flyin or Nah, who is actually a very strong ranked player.
Okay.
But I haven't seen him in the jungle too much. I'm sorry, he plays Hunter in ranked.
Okay.
But I haven't seen him in the jungle too much. So I think he's really swapping roles as well as making the jump from ranked to SPL, completely skipping challengers.
So I'm going to ask you from your little bit of personal feedback. It sounds like you've played with Flyer now in the ranked queue a little bit. What's his playstyle like? I know he plays Hunters primarily, but is he aggressive? Is he passive? What are we going to see out of him? What can we sort of expect in the jungle?
I think he's more of a passive player like Youngbei, but he will take his opportunities when given to him. I don't think he's, but that's a Hunter, right? I don't know how he's going to be with jungle, but how the meta's really shaping out. If he's not aggressive, especially against AFK, who is a very, very early and mid-game based team, it's going to be rough. He has to play early, or else I think Enemy are just going to lose this in the jungle.
Enemy Esports does have a good shining star. Jerby has played very well in the last week. Usually not a player that we talk about, but he played very well last week. And Matty Pocket, recent addition to the team, and I think week 1 of the summer split, looks very good as well. So if this team sticks together and sort of works out their kinks, I think they can be strong. But as we said, their opponents today, AFK, are very, very strong team.
Yeah, and, you know, AFK they dropped a game last week, and that was bad, right? Allied, I'm sorry, is it game 2 time? Allied actually overslept, missing their game 1, and that could come back to bite them.
Right.
Allied missing that game, they were forced into bad picks because they were looking to comfort pick for their the player who took over for them, Samshrew, and they lost in picks to Legion. That loss could come back to haunt them with how competitive North America is right now.
Yeah, AFK definitely wants to look to 2-0 this set. It's a set that they can 2-0.
Yes.
And they have to not be spoiled like they were last week. Enemy, like we said, they do have some shining points. So it's not completely over with. AFK definitely are going into this matchup a little bit stronger. Looking specifically at, I suppose, with Allied, you got to look at the Hunter role. But where are you looking for this matchup specifically at AFK?
For AFK, I think it really comes down to Weekend and Cyclone Spin. That it seems to come down most of the time. Weekend is playing these really aggressive junglers and these really frontline junglers.
Right.
He actually played an Odin last week, which we see him bring out once in a while. He is a player who likes to get ahead early and then transition into this really tanky frontliner, and then he gets Cyclone Spin fed, and then Cyclone Spin can rotate. And Cyclone Spin is really that player that comes out in these mid-game team fights and makes the huge plays for AFK.
Yeah, that's really the handoff from the mid game to the mid to late game is the weekend carry. As you said, the Odin. Odin sort of hits his peak in the mid game, and then late game you get the big carries coming out of Cyclone Spin like the Chronoses or the Bakasuras. That's really the gross oversimplification of AFK's game. So coming out of it, we've analyzed it a little bit. AFK, Enemy, taking a look at the picks this time around. How did you go?
I went AFK. Enemy, I give Stars a better chance against Fnatic than Enemy against AFK. AFK is looking for revenge after dropping a game versus Legion. They are looking to not drop another game for the rest of the season, and I think, honestly, losing that game might have made them even better.
That is a scary prediction. I, as well as the community, as well as everybody generally here at hi-rez, have picked AFK. We think that the matchup is just a little bit too strong on the side of the San Jose-based team. So they won the spring final land. A little bit of hiccups in game one last week, but I don't really expect that. I think that Allied has purchased a couple of new alarm clocks to make sure that this one goes without a hitch. So should be expecting, that's a good analysis. Should be expecting a huge upswing from AFK this time around.
Yeah, and a lot of it's going to come on Allied needs to perform as well. Incon actually said, I don't know, I'm just speculating here. Allied, Incon came on in the post-game, he's like, it won't happen again. Allied knows it. Allied better perform. He may be facing the bench here.
I mean, game two, Allied came out very, very strong. 10 kills and 0 deaths on that Chubalanki from game two in last week's set. So it's not exactly like he's underperforming. He's just oversleeping. So we got to make sure that one doesn't happen. Keep in mind that's going to be the second game of the day. The first one will be European. We're going to see upcoming Stars take on Fnatic, and that'll happen in just a couple of seconds. For Kevin, my name is Tom, and we'll see you in the game.